the $50 zero-day apocalypse. Tomorrow, the structural architecture of internet security, and by extension, the entire decentralized financial ecosystem, is about to shift irreversibly. The noise across tech forums is focused on Anthropic releasing its highly anticipated cybersecurity AI model, Mythos, publicly under the consumer name Fable 5. Tech journalists have confirmed the release is locked in. For months, this model has been sealed behind closed doors under Project Glasswing, accessible only to a tiny cohort of critical infrastructure firms, cloud providers, and government entities. The signal, however, is a terrifying realization for Web3. Mythos is not just a faster code assistant. It is an autonomous, offensive cyber engine that has already discovered over 23,000 vulnerabilities across open-source code, including a 27-year-old flaw in OpenBSD that cost the AI just $50 to find and weaponize. In traditional tech, a software flaw requires layers of organizational friction to exploit. In DeFi, code is treasury. Tomorrow, this God mode vulnerability locator becomes available to the public. Today, we do a detailed threat assessment on which DeFi sectors are in the immediate crosshairs, how the market will respond, and exactly what you need to do with your capital before the clock strikes midnight. My name is Noel. Welcome back to the Signal and Noise podcast. Let's dive in. To understand the severity of this release, we have to look past the benchmark scores. In internal testing, Mythos scored an unprecedented 93.9% on SWE-bench verified. For context, previous frontier models were clustered down around 80%. Traditional static bug hunting tools look for isolated pattern errors. Mythos operates differently. It reasons through complex, multi-step actions over long horizons. It identifies a minor, low-severity bug in one contract, links it to an edge case logic flaw in a second contract, and chains them together to forge a fully functioning exploit script autonomously, with zero human intervention. This is the ultimate threat vector for Web3. DeFi's primary strength is composability, money Legos. But to an AI engine like Mythos, composability is just a giant, highly predictable search optimization map. The AI doesn't just scan an isolated protocol, it scans the interaction graph between bridges, Oracle price feeds, automated market makers, and governance vaults. Last year, leading AI models could only weaponize about 2% of smart contract bugs from scratch. Mythos pushes that exploit development success rate to over 72%. When the cost of discovering a multi-million-dollar protocol vulnerability drops to the price of a tank of gas, the economic asymmetry of attacking DeFi shifts drastically. Let's strip away the generalizations and identify the exact categories of DeFi tokens and protocols that face the highest systemic threat starting tomorrow. Bridges are structurally vulnerable because they hold massive stationary capital pools governed by complex locking and minting logic. Any multi-signature framework or smart contract routing logic that hasn't been re-audited under an agentic AI framework is highly exposed. Tokens tied directly to independent bridge architectures face localized delta risks. If a protocol automatically routes user deposits through 3 or 4 different underlying lending layers and liquidity pools to optimize yield, its attack surface expands exponentially. Mythos excels at analyzing multi-layered logic paths. Aggregator native governance tokens are heavily exposed to cascading liquidation or withdrawal lockout shocks. While top-tier protocols rely on highly resilient networks like Chainlink, smaller or newly launched DeFi setups using localized or algorithmic TWAP oracles are highly vulnerable. Mythos can model economic manipulation attack paths, simulating exactly how much capital is required to distort a low liquidity pool to trigger an immediate systemic drain. The thousands of smaller protocols that copy-pasted code from Uniswap, Aave, or Compound, but tweaked minor parameters to add custom incentives are sitting ducks. Human eyes miss single-line omissions during copy-paste migrations. Mythos thrives on them. If you are actively holding or staking assets in decentralized finance protocols, you cannot afford to adopt a passive, wait-and-see approach over the next 72 hours. Here is your tactical checklist to mitigate systemic AI vulnerability risk. Audit your yield versus risk profiles. If you have capital sitting in a lending vault or an aggregator earning a conservative 3% to 5% APY, you are taking an existential smart contract security risk. High complexity, low yield positions should be de-risked immediately. Move assets into raw, unleveraged base layers or cold storage. Track the speed of patch deployments. In the age of Mythos, traditional multi-week or monthly software patch cycles are a structural liability. If a vulnerability is made visible, an AI agent can read the patch diff and compile an exploit before a decentralized governance body can even convene a vote. Prioritize protocols that have transparent automated hotfix capabilities and a proven record of third-party security hygiene. Utilize covered on-chain protection. If you must keep capital deployed, route your assets exclusively through vaults that support automated protocol failure insurance. Streaming a tiny fraction of your yield to safeguard your principal asset cap is the only rational risk management model left. What will the broader market look like by the end of the week? We can anticipate a three-stage market response as Fable 5 goes live globally. The Great Audit Race. We are going to see a short-term, massive spike in network activity as both white hat and malicious actors point public access at Etherscan and Solana. Expect a temporary surge in gas fees as teams race to front-run vulnerabilities with rescue transactions. The valuation divergence. The market will begin violently penalizing vibe-coded altcoins. We will see a capital flight to safety. Blue-chip protocols with massive hardened code bases will command an immense premium, while smaller ecosystem tokens will experience sharp liquidity withdrawals. Ultimately, this marks the birth of defensive AI dominance. Protocols will be forced to deploy continuous real-time AI agents to actively defend their infrastructure. So, what's the final verdict? The signal. The public release of Mythos means the historical security assumptions of Web3 are officially dead. We are moving from a world where protocol safety was bottlenecked by human developer throughput to an era of machine velocity exploitation. This is not a reason to panic, but it is a demand for immediate, cold-blooded portfolio adjustment. Protect your principal. De-risk out of high-complexity, experimental DeFi applications before tomorrow's launch. Focus on protocols incorporating agentic AI auditing defenses. The tools of destruction and defense are now identical. The only variable left is who deploys them faster. Stay sharp, stay focused. That's it for this emergency edition of the Signal and Noise podcast. My name is Newell. The gate is opening and the machine is ready to scan. Do like and subscribe. We'll see you in the next one.